Hi everyone, welcome to another Sharewise webinar. Today I am joined by Future Battery Minerals, the CEO and MD, Nick Rathjen. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nick.
Thanks, Caitlin. Pleasure to be here.
So today Nick will take us through a presentation, and then following that we'll have Q&A. So for those of you that have joined us live, please feel free to pop your questions into the Q&A box below. But I'll hand it off to you, Nick.
No worries. Really appreciate it. And thanks all for joining today. As Caitlin said, we'll run through a quick presentation, talk about, where we have come from, where we're going, but also, really, where we think we're going in the future as well, and the assets that we've got. So please feel free to, shoot through any questions you have or, any information along the way. So as I've just brought up the presentation, happy to sort of kick it off. So talk a bit about FBM and who we are. Really what we are is we're a lithium and battery minerals focused explorer and developer that, we have a portfolio of lithium projects, primarily two major or more advanced assets, being the Kangaroo Hills and Lithium Project located in WA, and the Nevada Lithium Project, obviously located in Nevada. That's a lithium sedimentary project. But to talk about our business, really who we are and what we're looking to do, and in our experiences, find really good assets in tier one jurisdictions that we believe fit on the lower end of the cost curve or have that potential. And that's really our strategy as we go through it, is that we're currently going through exploration, continuing to grow the size of these projects, but also, looking to see how they fit on that cost curve and then obviously advance them into development. But really what gets us excited, and really what we're very proud of, is the assets that we've got are tier one good quality assets. And in particular, the Kangaroo Hills, our flagship asset, Kangaroo Hills, and now Miriam, that we recently acquired. It really has four key pillars to it that sort of stand the test of time of mining projects. And that fundamentally starts with access to infrastructure, being able to get projects developed easily, on time, and with reasonable cost as well. Two, having high quality geology. So we're a hard rock lithium asset there, being Kangaroo Hills and Miriam. Having thick, high grade, shallow dipping pegmatites from surface that are, from what we see, are easily mineable economically, and also easily processed. So actually being able to extract that and make money of that, make cash flow. The third is, we've really got, in lithium, it's quite unique, and we've got the right type of lithium. So, and that's spodumene. So we're talking hard rock there. There are dozens and dozens of different types of lithium minerals. But the prominent one, the one that this whole lithium supply chain is built on for hard rock lithium, is spodumene. And that's the type of lithium that we got. In particular, it's really coarse grain spodumene that's easily processed. And the fourth is the assets that we've got have got that belt scale opportunity that, over the course of our journey, we're continuing to grow those. And it's really that we see that size and scale that is really attractive, and again puts us, to the left or the lower end of a potential cost curve when we move into a development stage. So that's really the fundamentals of our business, and again of the assets that we've had. And the over and above, I guess, to talk about lithium briefly, is obviously it's gone through its cycle as all commodities do. But for us, we believe that's a really good opportunity for us and our strategy, as we not only continue to grow our assets, in these times. It's the best time to do it, because exploration costs are lower, and we can actually do the work and take this time to get a better outcome. But more importantly, we're looking to continue to grow and acquire more projects that, again, it's an attractive point in the cycle to be a buyer of good quality assets. To talk about the business as an overview, the key thing to acknowledge here is, we're a smaller company as it would be, $22 million market cap, but we are quite well funded. So we've recently done a capital raise, but over and above that, we also sold an asset last year, the pen nickel asset that comes with milestone payments. So of that, we're due to receive, another $7.2 million over the course of the next 9 months. So again, really well funded in our position to not only continue to fund our exploration activities, but over and above that, again, look at high quality assets to build out our portfolio. The other key thing here to note is that the business is heavily owned by management and board, and actually over the last 6 months, we've put in hundreds of thousands of our own money to buy shares and continue to own more of this business. As again, we feel very passionate about what these assets can deliver in the future. But supporting us as well, over the journey, we've also been able to have Hancock Prospecting come on as a shareholder recently, and again, very supportive of our strategy as we continue to grow and become a much larger lithium business in the future, as well as a number of institutional investors that have also joined us recently, as we acquired Miriam and have taken on that scale. We'll touch on the board of management. It's always key for shareholders not only to know the assets, but also to know the people that, we are the custodians for the shareholders and your money to generate value for shareholders. And with that principle, we do have a really well-rounded board comprising, senior, talk about Nev Power, chairman, who was the CEO for Fortescue Metals for over 8 years. And that being obviously a top 20 ASX listed company now, but through his journey, he took it from being quite a much smaller company into really what it is today, and tripled its production capacity over his tenure there at FMG. So a highly calibered, experienced person that has gone through this journey here in WA in the iron ore cycle, but really well versed in commodities more broadly. Talk about myself. Look, my background is almost entirely lithium. So my journey began at a company in Africa called Prospect Resources that owned the Arcadia asset in Zimbabwe, and really came in with the MD shortly after the MD to transform that asset and take it from a sort of scoping stage level all the way through to definitive feasibility study, signing offtakes, doing a demonstration plant on site, producing cash flow, and then selling the asset for circa 500 million in late 2021. But over and above that, through that tenure there, then moved and have done consulting to a number of other lithium companies in Africa, Canada, and Australia. So covering quite a number of continents and various lithium projects. Again, taking them through this sort of journey that we're going on with FBM. The technical director, Robin Cox, by my side in the business, he's the gentleman who's an experienced exploration geologist with over 14 years experience, but also the individual who discovered both our assets. So, really capable, really experienced in discovering and uncovering lithium value for projects as well. By his side is Mike Edwards, again, a senior geologist experience, but also a very commercial individual that has been on a number of gold and various companies over his journey. So across the board, you can see that we've got a really good skill set of both exploration through to development. And again, taking companies along that curve from being really small businesses up to, large producing companies. To dive into the project, Kangaroo Hills it doesn't get much better than this for projects. The key thing is when you're trying to look at does the project get into production, it comes down to all the other costs that aren't the actual plant of producing, which is, do you have to build roads? Do you have to build power? Do you have to build water? And really what Kangaroo has is all those things ticked. We're 17k south of Coolgardie. So that's a township here in WA in the goldfields. And again, Coolgardie, where, it makes it really, really easy to do business, not only in exploration, but also development and production. And even where we are today in exploration, a geologist can drive down to site. We just finished our drilling program. He can drive down to site in the morning, do the drilling with the drillers, take the samples back up to Kalgoorlie, get them handed into the lab, and then get those lab results really, really quickly and then be home by dinner. So this ability to operate really easily is quite a critical piece, particularly when you then go into development and the capital intensity required for projects. But the more important bit is that we're surrounded by lithium elephants. We're really in that elephant country of Mount Marion, 45 k's down the road. Then you've got Bald Hill further south, Pioneer Dome, and many more in the region that, it's a proven area for finding scalable and economic lithium projects. So that's quite key. And that's really where Kangaroo Hills and Miriam comes into the picture, is that Kangaroo Hills, when we first discovered it at the end of 2022, but it really was start of March 2023, in that 12-month period to now, we've really transformed it from being an initial, discovery of a quality pegmatite to, a burgeoning lithium project that, is going to transform and move into resource stage and then studies. And that's really that scale potential that I mentioned before, that, from the drilling to date, which we've done quite a substantial amount of work, over 28,000 meters on the project already. We've really demonstrated that there's a forming of multiple pegmatites that gives scale and quality to us looking at a high value sort of lithium project here. But to call out, really what we're looking for, what we personally look for, and what investors should look out for is, the intercepts, the quality of the intercepts, the grade, and really the depth as well. And we tick all three of those boxes by having pegmatites mineralizing from surface that are thick and high grade. And even where we've recently drilled to, we're still coming out of, under 80, 70 meters of depth. So therefore it's really near surface and amenable to an open pit sort of high value operation. In our recent drilling that we completed, not only did we intercept our best result to date, which is encouraging, of 31 meters at 1.13, but the key thing here is we learned a lot about the structure of the region of the geology, and not to get too detailed and nitty-gritty, but knowing the structure better informs you of where the lithium is in the future by understanding that structure. So for us, it's really helped inform us of our current drill program that we've just now completed, and assays will be coming in mid-July, that we've been able to see that structure. And now you're really trying to find that sweet spot of where these big pegmatites are going. So that's really encouraging for us, and it's going to help us in the future, really manage and reduce spending, because we can have more confidence around where the pegmatites are, and therefore it's a higher value and higher return future drilling programs for us as well. So that was quite encouraging. And then to look at the project on a sort of a long section, you can really see here that there's a swarm of pegmatites that have economic intercepts, and that they appear to be tracking into potentially a much bigger system here. So you see this at operations like Liontown and many others that have these sort of structures. So really for us, it's quite encouraging as we continue to explore the project. And in particular, really what our focus is this big red pegmatite, which is the core of the asset, and as you can see, the thickest and highest grade part of the system. And we're really going down and testing that extension there, the open arrow, and following that along that strike, and again, looking to grow the overall mineralization in the area and the project potential. So that's really what we've just now finished, and assays again coming out in July. So something to look forward to around the corner. To sort of talk about lithium, as I said, you've got to have the right stuff. So you can have a lot of it, but if it's not economic and it's not the right stuff, it's a really big challenge. And this is where we come into our fold, that we've already done the initial metallurgical test work. So we've gone through and we've demonstrated that we've got good quality spodumene that is amenable to conventional lithium processing methods. There's two conventional methods, being dense media separation and the other froth flotation. And some plants use a combination of them as well. And really what we see there with HLS, or which is a predictor for DMS, is that top graph there, that we can see that we're getting really good recoveries and economic potential recoveries there, but also really good product quality in terms of grade. So, +5, +5.5 and 6% grades. So again, really got that right stuff there. And once we've come out and finished our drill programs over the course of this year, the plan is to come back to the pegmatites, come back to the ore bodies, and go through and do more what's called diamond core, to then do more metallurgical work and test variability. And that will be a really good sign for us, because it means that we've got confidence in the scale and the quality of the asset to look at studies. So that's also something to look forward to once we've continued to grow the project, geologically speaking, over the course of this year. Now, to touch on Miriam, this was an asset that we acquired an 85% stake in at the end of March, so only just recently, and we did the capital raise on the back of that at 5.5 cents. This asset is really what transforms our business. And the key reason why it transforms the business and our assets is, as you can see at the bottom there on the diagram, Kangaroo Hills is a really good land package. Again, we're in the right type of geology, but the top part there being Miriam, you can then see that this increases the scale of our potential significantly. And not only that, but the Miriam project itself has the near identical signatures to what we had when we first found Big Red, with high grading spodumene outcrops at surface and the right type of chemical compositions in them to know that are the right signatures for that right type of lithium. But also the company that had done the work and owned the project before us had done a reasonable amount of work on the ground already, doing soil sampling, geophysical work and also now they've had their permit granted on the ground. Well, now we own it, it's our permit to drill. There are a number of targets there that are really good quality drill-ready targets that, again, we're looking forward to achieving in the next quarter ahead once we've finished here at Kangaroo Hills. Again, that quality speaks to us growing our pegmatites in this region. And that's to talk about, we're not just resting on the laurels of what the company what the former owner did, is that we're now going in and also doing some more work on the ground now. We've uncovered more pegmatites, again, with spodumene, but also with the right signatures with the other elements that we're looking for as well. And we're looking to enhance that program and grow that out with more soil sampling and more geophysical work to have a better understanding of the ground, so that when you go to do the costly or the expensive exploration, which is drilling, you're really focusing on high value targets and not, spending money loosely. You're really being quite focused and quite driven to generate high quality targets that are going to add value back to the business. So that's the plan there over the course of the September quarter, so just around the corner now. Again, excited to get up there because of the signatures that we see there are very identical to what we had at Big Red. So looking forward to that in the next quarter once we finish the current program and have the assays out. I'd be remiss to talk about Nevada, although it's not our primary and flagship asset. It is a standout asset in its own that we've actually taken from first discovery all the way through to resource already. And why it's exciting, and it's quite interesting for us, and why we went there, is that America and particularly Nevada has gone through quite a substantial change. America geopolitically, but Nevada as a potential new lithium region with groups like Lithium America Corp that are now running through the production point in their project. So they're doing work on the ground and building their plant. And then just south of where we are, there's another company on the ASX called Ioneer who are just going through, kicking off that development stage now. So it's really going to be coming out in the future as a lithium region. And we wanted to be part of that and see that opportunity. So when we acquired the project in late 2022 and made that then drill hole discovery and have grown it out, we really saw now that we're in the right sort of area. And in this area, you can see on the map, there's a number of other companies that are far more advanced than we are. Two of them are already into scoping study level, so they're kicking off that development phase with scalable resources comparable to us, with us having comparable grades. So it's a really encouraging step forward for us that this is a good region to be in, and it's a really good potential project. And really what we saw there with the resources we delivered in April is this is a good quality asset that has really good merits of moving forward. And just our neighbour to the east there, American Battery Technology, they've probably 12, 18 months ahead of us, and they actually received a $20 million grant from the US federal government to advance their project. So you can see the geopolitical factors that are coming in are really sort of helping these projects develop and advance with, government funding and incentives as well. And the advantage there for us is, although it's not our flagship asset, there is substantial value there that we are looking to realise. Now that we've completed the resource, it's a really good reset point for us to look around of what we want to do. There are multiple commercial pathways that we can explore. Again, as we mentioned, you can go through development, get government grants and funding. You can sell assets, you can joint venture them. So we're looking at all those pathways now in this point in time to really assess how we get the maximum value of the assets. But as you can see from these peers, two of which are in the same, I wouldn't call it a belt, but the same basin or same region that we're in, there is substantial value opportunity for our asset that is comparable to theirs that we're really looking forward to exploring in time, but not in a fire sale or not looking to just get rid of it. We really want to make sure we also get some reasonable value for shareholders on it as well. So sort of to cover off on our business, again, as we touched on, really good lithium exploration projects, particularly what we see at Kangaroo Hills and Miriam. And again, as our strategy unfolds over the course of this year and next, we want to continue to grow our position, particularly where there is lithium projects that have that same sort of quality that what we have, or in addition to what we have. But also our other project being Nevada that has already completed its resource and really has substantial value potential there. But over the course of this year, really the catalyst that we're that an investor could see linked from the activity that we're doing is a combination of drill programs throughout the year at Kangaroo Hills and Miriam, again looking to demonstrate greater extension of our pegmatites, greater extension or scale of a potential resource and project there. And then over and above that, also looking at, potential M&A opportunities of how we can bolt on and add on to those assets and grow them. But the really thing about our team is that we've had experience taking lithium projects through exploration, through development, and then over towards production that, we do see a really good pathway, a clear pathway of taking these assets forward, both from the geological, metallurgical and commercial, looking at offtake and partnership processes in the future and things like that. So again, a well-rounded team to sort of take these assets forward. And again, although the lithium market has gone through its, the bottom end of that cycle where we are now, we think this is actually the really good time to be doing work and advancing assets, again, that we think has potential to be on the lower end of the cost curve that has that quality. So that when the market does turn, whether that's end of this year, next year, or whenever that is, we think we're really well positioned to have significant leverage to that upside. So that's a coverage of FBM, myself and the team, and what we plan to do in the future. And very, very happy to welcome any questions, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, Nick, for such a great presentation and talking us through what the current FBM projects are. For those that have joined us midway through the presentation, if you have any questions for Nick, you can pop them into the Q&A box below. But I'll get us started. So the recent capital raise, how much was raised and what was the funding used for?
Yeah, good question. So the recent capital raise was $6 million at 5.5 cents. So currently we're trading around 3.5. So a substantially higher price, and which actually all the board members participated in. So we all put money in and we're all, again, as I say, very invested in what we're doing. The objective of the capital raise was primarily to secure Miriam. So, if we go through the use of funds, the primary thing was some cash to acquire the Miriam transaction. But really the bulk of the balance of that capital is to be put into Miriam and Kangaroo Hills in the ground through our exploration program. So again, we're a very low cost operational business. We don't have a lot of overheads. And so really we can focus on maximizing that capital in the ground and in growing that asset. So yeah, the bulk of the money was to acquire the asset and to build value and evaluate into it.
Okay. And speaking of the Kangaroo and Miriam Hills projects, what's the commercial potential from those projects? And when do you expect talks of commercialization for those projects to begin?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Look, I might flick up and I'll let a slide guide us through it, but the talks of commercialization and, and how does that look and when is that the question is, ideally what you want to do is you really want to maximize the value of your asset, because then you can attract the maximal commercial potential when you go through. So as an objective, you really want to try and advance the asset as far as you can before you look at those things. Although what you've seen in the lithium market is it's very much coming earlier and earlier that these commercial opportunities are coming to you. So, we've kind of taken a view to not be drawn into those in the last 6 months or last year as we've welcomed them, is that we think there's substantial more value to be captured as we go on this journey. But the real key of what we talk about here is, as a business, is with a project, you not only want to have a plan A, plan B, but you want to have a plan C. And if we go through those scenarios, for us, plan A is that we continue to drill, continue to find more lithium. Again, we get to that point of scale where it's very well justified to go into a development stage and a production stage on a lithium concentrator. So that's plan A, and the reason why that's plan A is because of the existing infrastructure and where we are. It's 17 k's up to Coolgardie, and then you've got a highway, so it's sealed road to Coolgardie, and then you've got a highway all the way down south to Esperance, or you go west back down to the ports near Perth. That they're established ports that are exporting lithium concentrates already. It's kind of we really can fit into existing infrastructure. So that's a really good opportunity for us to maximize the max amount of value out of those assets. And then you got plan B, is that we take it to a sizable point, and naturally what happens with projects is, if you've got really good projects and good quality things, people come along to try either join the journey or look to have it all for themselves. So that's always kind of part and parcel. But the other key bit for us is plan C, again, because of this infrastructure, that we have lithium operations in the region existing that will in the future need good quality lithium ore, which is what we have. As well as, MinRes have mentioned a third potential plant in the region to take ore from third parties such as us. That really kind of adds an extra bow into our sort of multiple pathways there for commercialization. But again, with lithium, with this sort of quality, the funding and the pathways from investment from downstream, that's really a big contributing factor into us of how you kind of get well funded. Again, with focus on less dilution to shareholders along that journey.
Okay. And I know you said that you guys have started exploring commercial pathways for Nevada. How is that tracking, and when do you expect some revenue to come from that project?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So in Nevada, once you've got your resource, you then put in a project plan. You submit a project plan to the government, and with that, then you're basically saying what you're going to go and do. What's your plan? What are you going to build? So you generally do that with a study, and in line with that, once you've lodged that and you've validated that this is an economic potential project, you can then get access to that funding. That can really advance your project in quite a material way. So that's something we're exploring. Of as a business, you always look at how do you best deploy your capital. Is it best deployed at Kangaroo Hills or Nevada? And that's at the moment we've got a very good budget for Kangaroo Hills and Nevada, but it's whether Kangaroo Hills and Miriam. It's whether we do any further investment in Nevada at this stage, or it's better suited in Kangaroo Hills. But the other pathways there are really around commercial transactions, sale of asset, or farming and joint venture and these sort of things. Parties that have the capital and the primary focus to invest in that project to take it forward. So they're the sort of key things that we're evaluating, and for those two options, again, it determines whether it's an asset sale. It's you're walking away, but you're getting the value up front, likely from that. Or you're looking at a joint venture that you're still coming along the journey again to see that sort of come into fruition. So there's sort of different pathways there, but again, that's an ongoing process that we can't talk too much about it. But again, very, very much detailed talking with other lithium clay companies, but also other people that are not in lithium or lithium clays currently, but are in various other industries, oil and gas or whatever it is, that have an interest in lithium, and particularly in North America for its geopolitical reasons.
Okay. And could you expand more on hard rock lithium in WA?
Yeah, happy to. I won't bore everyone with a lithium lesson or anything like that, but this is where hard rock lithium's really begun. With the Greenbushes asset, which originally was a tin mine, then a tantalum mine, and now a lithium mine. So hard rock in WA, it's really the epicenter for hard rock mining. Generally, we have such a rich source of knowledge through various minerals, but now with the history we have in lithium, it really is the epicenter for hard rock mining for lithium. So, we've got lots of skills and capabilities here, and particularly in Kalgoorlie, as you can see, operating mines in the region. It really is kind of the epicenter for hard rock lithium mining, and hard rock lithium mining and brines each have their own advantages, but really what you want to focus on as an investor, and we focus on as a business, is the quality, which is what we see here in this region, but also with our assets.
Okay, and we have a question submitted. Do you see solid state battery as a keen competitor?
Yeah, so solid state battery is a good question. There's a various chemistries in solid state batteries, but the main form of solid state battery is still a lithium ion battery that's solid state. So that's kind of the starting point there. And those types of batteries, solid state, they still use relatively the same amount of lithium. It's not like it's going to be diminished to nothing. So it's actually a really good thing. It's a good point, actually. The technology in lithium batteries has come a long, long way. That range is increasing, quality and safety is increasing. It's a really good thing for the industry. Actually, it means that there's further investment that gives further life to ensuring that what we see here is that this is a potentially a multi-decade or a perpetuity thing, as a structural change to the automotive industry. So I think it's a really positive thing. There are other forms of batteries. You've got sodium base, then there's other chemistries coming out. The sodium base one is a really low cost potential form of battery, but actually the other aspect of that is it really diminishes the range substantially. So actually on a cost per kilometer range, it actually is less efficient than lithium batteries. So it has its options and things that it might be useful for, but I think for passenger vehicles that want reasonable range, but in particular they want options like quick recharge and accessibility. Lithium, look, there'll be a mix, but lithium still is the chosen choice within the industry.
Okay. And we have another question submitted. Is any exploration permitted on the timber reserve in Kangaroo Hills? Has Miriam helped advance this?
Yeah. So good question. So just in the north of our ground, I'll bring it up on a map and talk to you about it. There's an old timber reserve, which ironically was many years ago, or decades ago, if not a century. It was built for growing wood to then be chopped down to build the mines in Kalgoorlie. So again, a long time ago. So actually, where it sort of cuts in is actually this sort of line where Big Red already is, and so where our ore bodies already are. And I guess to the point of that is that yes, we have permits, we're drilling. Again, it's what's called a Class C reserve, so it's not a priority. Priorities are priority A's that, again, you go to state parks, but for Class C, it's a very heavily disturbed area, but obviously operating in there, we just got to make sure we're not causing additional damage. We're making sure we're doing rehab, things like that. But currently operating in the timber reserve, have previously, and our permits grant us to continue to operate in there. So our current permit at Kangaroo Hills allows us to drill extensively throughout our ground and our tenure. And then obviously with Miriam, one of the key factors in acquiring that was that they had that permit. So they've now got that permit. So, we're not waiting on any additional permitting or anything. So we've got the permit to undertake quite an extensive amount of drilling on that project already. So we've de-risked de-risk any potential there, and obviously working with departments to, we plan to do additional work in the future and obviously get to mining. So, advancing those things as well, so that, we're ready when we get there to not have any delays in permitting.
Okay. And I believe we touched on this, but would FBM be seeking US government grant funding for the Nevada development? If yes, at what point would we expect that to be sought? So I think you already touched on it, but if there's anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so that becomes tangible, and that opens up to companies once they've, I guess, submitted their plan of operation. Generally, when you submit your plan of operation, it's saying where you're going to build the plant, where you're going to do this, or and so you do that at like a scoping study or a PEA level. Now that we've completed the resource, we're just that step below that. So the decision would be, as we look at all these options, is that the way that we go? We do a scoping study, which is reasonably cost effective to do, but you've got to evaluate that option and spend. And then once you've done that, you can then put in your plan of operation that you can then have granted to make application. So no time frame on that at that stage. We're just at the step before that, evaluating these options, but it is something that we are looking at.
Okay. And final question, what do you see with lithium going forward, and how does this align with FBM's strategy?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Obviously, quite topical at the moment, being sort of bottom cycle sort of area, versus what we saw last year, which was clearly top cycle. Look, lithium is its history for EVs was premature the last decade. It had sort of its first run, but really the supply chain wasn't there. EV sales weren't there. It was 1% of global car sales. The supply chain hadn't invested money. You fast forward 6 years to where we are now, there's tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars invested already in the whole supply chain. Electric vehicles in China are now 20% of new vehicles, and their goal is to get that substantially above that in the next 6 years. So, and the industry is sort of going that way. So it has fundamentals now that you can underpin a longer term horizon of an industry. And being where we are, lithium still will have its day, and it will continue to sort of transform. But with the growth that we're seeing, although it was last year 20% growth, this year it's a bit tempered already, but recovering of 15 to the low double digits. Sorry, it will continue to grow over time. What we're focused on is that there's a lot of lithium companies exploring or developing or whatever it is. It will go through a transformation eventually, whether it's now or 10 years time of much like what iron ore went through, that it'll come back to quality, and who's at the bottom of the cost curve or near in the bottom 2 quartiles of the cost curve, that can operate throughout all of these cycles. And so that's really, again, as we say, what we're focused on is we have a really attractive asset here that we think has that potential. And therefore, we focus on that as being, that's how we see our future going forward, is focusing on an asset that's good quality, potentially going into the lower cost curve, that you can weather, cycles as they do with all commodities in the resources space.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a great presentation and answering the Q&A. Thank you for everyone that joined and asked questions as well. If anyone's interested in watching the recording of this will be posted onto our YouTube. But thank you so much, Nick, for joining me today.
No, thanks, Caitlin, and thanks for everyone for joining. Appreciate it.